after a significant number of painful and frustrating screw-ups, I have discovered that there are two things in this world that we should not fuck with: wasps and hormones. Start reading about hormonal functions in the body. Even reading the Wikipedia page of just one hormone, you'll start to realize how intricately connected our bodily functions are. There are literally no isolated systems anywhere in our body. Pop medicine, based on isolated reductionist science, likes to explain our bodies as simplistic machines, the nutrients we eat as isolated compounds, and our hormones as straightforward messengers whose pathways are absolute. A causes B causes C, and the implication is that we can control these pathways with drugs. Which, as anyone who has tried to manage a hormonal complaint with pharmaceuticals knows, the medical model is not effective, and usually results in a lot more severe side effects than symptoms you had in the first place. And alternative medicine is not much better, because they take the exact same approach. But instead of using synthetic hormones, they're using irresponsibly high levels of animal and plant-derived hormones, isolated nutrient supplements, and herbs. They're not addressing the root cause. And the truth of the matter is incredibly overwhelming, which is, I think, why it's avoided in lieu of these more simplistic half-explanations. Because when we view our bodies through the lens of truth, we can't avoid the deduction that our bodies are so complex and our hormonal systems are so interconnected. It becomes crystal clear that we cannot outsmart or manage our bodies better than our bodies can manage themselves. You cannot control or circumvent your hormones or manipulate your metabolism without major, long-lasting, domino effect-like consequences. Your body is an incredibly complicated web, and as soon as you pull one string, everything else is affected. And this has everything to do with weight loss. And as we briefly touched in the Sleep for Weight Loss video, there are some hormones that are generally speaking associated with weight loss and weight gain, although I think it would be completely naive to assume that these are the only hormones that are affecting the issue. There's ghrelin that increases appetite, regulates metabolism and fat storage. There's leptin, which decreases appetite. There's cortisol, which affects almost everything in every bodily system and every other hormone in your body. And there's insulin, which in unnecessarily large or persistent amounts encourages fat storage. Hormones function by negative feedback loops. Your body is constantly monitoring itself and making any and all adjustments necessary to maintain homeostasis. As an example, when you eat, your pancreas excretes insulin, glucose in the bloodstream is ferried away into the cells, and glucose levels are closely monitored by your brain. Once sufficient blood sugar has been absorbed, your pancreas is told to stop insulin production and insulin levels drop. That is negative feedback loop. In the past, the medical establishment believed that very select endocrine and exocrine glands were responsible for hormonal production. However, it is now common knowledge that hormones are produced by a huge variety of bodily tissues, including your lungs, kidney, brain, and body fat, just to name a very small few. At least it's common knowledge if you bother to continue reading medical literature after you graduate medical school in 1979. But unfortunately, most doctors with patient practices don't have to bother to do this. They have much more important things to do, like attend continuing education conferences put on by pharmaceutical companies. And I bet they learn all sorts of non-biased factoids when they bother to show up for the seminars. So ghrelin was, in the past, believed to simply be excreted by the digestive tract, affect the brain, and have the simple function of increasing appetite. However, we now know that ghrelin is produced by many tissues outside of the digestive tract, and even in the brain itself. And instead of simply affecting appetite, it also affects metabolism, fat storage, and stomach stretch receptor sensitivity. And that's just what has currently been understood. Please realize that this changes on an almost daily basis. In a world uncorrupted by unnatural food choices, a person's leptin levels, and thus appetite suppression, would increase if adipose tissue was gained. And ghrelin levels, and thus appetite, would increase if adipose tissue was lost. Because, let's remember, obesity was never considered as a possibility by nature. The success of our species depended on being sufficiently fat to be able to survive a famine, yet not be so fat that we cannot maneuver or reproduce effectively. But we don't live in a world of natural food choices. We live in a world of unnaturally refined and freaking delicious foods that are fully capable of overriding this appetite regulatory system, and thus affecting the hormonal balance. Though it's kind of a lopsided effect because ghrelin is still super effective at increasing appetite. But leptin, as it turns out, has been condemned to an existence similar to that of my dreams I had as a teenager growing up in an overbearing family. I, played by leptin, and literally screaming in my mother's face, played here by appetite, that what she's doing is destroying everything and she has to stop. But she can't even hear me. Not so much as even a little flinch as my ineffective little leptin fists bounce off of her face unaffected. When is my next therapy appointment? Which brings us to cortisol. Cortisol is only applicable to anyone who is currently breathing, but it's especially applicable to people who are prone to freaking the fuck out about everything. I get comments from people a lot, and I really want to help. But these people are absolutely frantic about their health. They're frantic about their diet, and they are frantic about the fact that they are frantic. And that's a problem, because when you're freaking the fuck out, your cortisol levels go through the roof, and cortisol affects everything, like metabolic function, both directly and indirectly. It'll affect your female cycles, it'll affect your body's ability to utilize instead of store calories, it'll affect the health and efficacy of your thyroid and the thyroid hormone's abilities to convert and be utilized, and most directly, it will highly affect your adrenal health and its ability to continue producing all of its hormones, including cortisol. But cortisol also has a huge effect on the efficacy of insulin, and insulin gets a bad rap. But, like all other hormones, it is an essential part of metabolic functioning. But several factors inhibit insulin efficacy. Most notably are high levels of dietary fats, especially saturated and trans fats found in animal and junk foods, and chronically high levels of stress hormones. Insulin needs to be effective so that it doesn't have to be excessively pervasive. It needs to work smart so it doesn't have to work hard. Because when insulin is too high or too ineffective for too long, serious metabolic problems arise. Diabetes, fat storage, visceral fat, and other issues associated with insulin resistance. Without doubt, there are many other hormonal problems that arise and cause weight issues. Thyroid irregularities, sex hormone imbalance, and way too much more to even start the list. And since, if we're honest about the vast complexities of the human body, these hormonal imbalances are much too interconnected and interdependent to fix them via supplementation with exogenous hormones. Take hypothyroid, for example. The go-to remedy is to supplement with synthetic thyroid hormones. Or, if you remortgaged your house to have treatment with a naturopath, you would be supplementing with natural thyroid hormones, along with DHEA, cortisol, and a slew of other supplements that you don't need. But a lack of human hormone in your body is a symptom, not the cause. The cause could literally be 100 different factors playing off of each other. It could be the pituitary or hypothalamus functioning improperly and failing to cue the thyroid to function appropriately. It could be an insufficient nutrient need for hormone uptake. It could be an overgrowth of pathogenic bacteria in the gut preventing adequate hormone conversion. It could be an underfunctioning of the adrenal gland and too much cortisol. Or, and this is very likely, it could be that the diagnostic criteria of hypothyroid has been severely lowered over the past 2 decades, so that plenty of people with subclinical hypothyroid now qualify to be medicated for life with ineffective hormone therapy. Causative hormonal diagnostics are kind of fucking impossible, guys, and that's why we just gotta eat well, we have to drink well, we have to sleep well, and we have to chill the fuck out. And even a stint in medical school cannot begin to allow us to understand the body's intricate workings, because we don't even know how much we don't know. We barely understand anything, and so much of what we thought we understand, we are now figuring out that, oh, whoops, we misunderstood that. And yet somehow there's confidence that, oh, well, yeah, we didn't get it in the past, but we totally got this shit nailed down now. We barely understand how these hormonal pathways work, and yet somehow we think we're qualified to try to manipulate and control how they function. But these medical students come out with a God complex because they have nearly been worked to death. Any shred of humility or compassion they had was wrung out of them during 36-hour rotations. Don't start this rant right now, Lily. I want everyone to be well informed about, what we think we know about how hormones function right now, but I am actually hesitant to talk about any specifics, because as soon as specifics are brought up, people start thinking that they are capable of manipulating them. Oh, testosterone is too high? Okay, well, supplement with compounded estrogen and progesterone. Take saw palmetto as well as the rest of the supplements on this side of the aisle in the health food store. Cha-ching! And maybe it's because I'm not an egotistical reductionist who thinks that man is above nature, that I see the shred of truth of our complexity as the ultimate proof that we have to make the choices that will provide our bodies with the input it needs to be able to function independently of the medical establishment. And I humbly admit that I do not know near enough to override the decision-making privileges of my body. And to be honest, barring the most dire of emergencies, I don't think any doctor does either. The best I can do is give my body the basic building blocks it evolved to thrive on and get my silly little ego out of the equation. Your hormonal system is capable of balancing itself out. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of time and patience, which are 2 resources human beings are tragically short on. If only we could enslave African children to mine them for us. I hate humans. Getting yourself out of the way of your hormones requires a diet we were designed to thrive on, which will be the subject of the next video. It takes a lot of mindfulness. It takes the personal fortitude necessary to examine your life and remove the stressors that aren't absolutely essential. It takes bravery to shift your immediate environment. And yes, this is a sideways way of me saying that you should quit your job and move to Bali to live in a rice paddy. I know that just spoke to someone. Hormonal healing requires proper diet, good hydration, and adequate rest first and foremost. Hormonal health requires finding a job that doesn't keep you in close contact with absolute assholes every day. Hormonal health requires interpersonal relationships that are not based on a platform of drama. Further information on the nutrition, lifestyle, activities, and supplements that are required for hormonal health, as well as a video specifically for my female viewers going through the hormonal purgatory right now, are on the way. So sit tight for those. Until next time, please make better choices to keep your dumb little ego out of your hormones business, and take really good care of yourself. Bye.